Are you considering purchasing a home today, but you have no clue of what's going on in the housing market? So today what I did was I put together top key factors that affect the real estate market. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Chakits, Krulsawat. I've been a licensed real estate agent out here in Las Vegas now for about 16 years, close over 1,000 transactions. We do about 100 million in sales volume every single year. So let's get started. Top factors that affect the real estate market. So we're going to be talking about the interest rate, the supply and demand, local economy and job market, inflation, government policy, this is important, and also consumer confidence and population growth and migration patterns. That is a key factor. New constructions, investor activities, and global events. So I've broken this down, made it very simple. So let's start off with the interest rate. So mortgage rates go down, buyers can afford more, which increases demand. So as interest rates go down, you're gonna have more and more people coming into the marketplace, but then that forces the price up high. Now, when rates go up, the affordability starts to drop and the demand starts to slow down. And that's what we are seeing today. Supply and demand. The lower the inventory, the higher the price, a bidding war begins. Now, this was happening in 2022, where supply was starting to get very short. You had more buyers coming out, and they were bidding above the asking price. They were waiving their appraisal contingencies and also their inspections. But today, higher the inventory, more choices, better deals for buyers. So remember, now rates are higher, which is really slowing down the market, which is increasing more inventory, but buyers have more choices to pick and choose from today. There's better deals, but the problem is this. A lot of people are not buying because of consumer confidence. But look, if you're thinking about buying, maybe now's the time to buy, but I can't tell you to buy. That's something that you have to make a decision. But this is where I'm seeing a lot of deals taking place right now. So I just negotiated one right now for about $800,000, but I was able to get up to 6% towards closing costs. Now, about $40,000 of that, we were able to buy down the interest rate and to take advantage. And the rest of the money, we utilized that to pay down the closing costs. So the only thing that the buyer really had to come in with is just the down payment. Now, let's talk about the local economy and the job markets, okay? This is something that you really need to take a look at, is the areas with strong job growth, okay, attracts buyers and investors. Now, you have to understand this. Right now, unemployment here in Las Vegas is about 4%, but the job growth is constantly moving because this is a trendy city. This is where people come, they move here, they stay for a few years, and they leave. So a lot of people are taking advantage of this, and you also see investors starting to buy because of the inventory, where buyers can't buy because interest rates are high, but you're having more and more inventory, but they're getting a hell of a discount and they're getting some pretty good returns on their investment. Now, areas with layoffs and economic declines tend to soften. And we're starting to see this in other states, but not here in Vegas. But these are the key factors that you must look at so that way you can actually forecast the future within your metropolitan area. Now, the next one, inflation. This is a big one, and we're starting to see this a lot. It seems like wherever you go, things are getting more and more expensive. Now, inflation can push construction costs and home prices even higher, right? Why? Cost of materials and labor. The problem is that builders, they hire trades and they're stealing trades from other builders because builders are paying more money because they need to hurry up and sell their product and they need to get their homes built. And that's where the problem lies here. Now what happens is the cost of labor will go up, okay? Now inflation may also influence the feds to increase the rates, okay? Which will actually slow the demand. And the reason why is because when you have high inflation, the federal government doesn't want inflation to run rampant, so they increase the interest rates so that way people would stop spending money and it slows down the economy where people start to save money. And what happens is it pushes down inflation. So there's actually a fine balance. And that's what we're seeing again today, right? All right, so government policies, right? They have tax incentives, you have zoning laws, and for like first-time homebuyer programs can actually stimulate the economy. But one of the problems that we're having right now is with government shutdown. And when you have government shutdown, when you have federal employees that work at the VA office and that are doing FHA loans, that could actually slow the process down as well. But with the programs out there can also help out the first-time homebuyers with the incentives. Like I took advantage of that during around 2008 when we had Obama, where if you bought a home, you get a tax credit of like $8,000. So back then my down payment for my home was about $8,000. So I actually got that back. So there are a lot of government programs out there that you should take advantage of. And if you don't know what those government programs are, or even your city programs, let me know. Shoot me out a text. I have a contact information right here. Just go ahead and just shoot me a text and I'll get you that information. Now, new regulations like rent control or higher property tax can actually hurt investors, and I'm actually seeing this. Okay, now every year the city, all right, will send out a letter asking how much are you currently renting out your home for, and basically it's really rent control. Now, if you're above that rent control, they're going to tax you more money on the property taxes. And that could actually really hurt the investors. So if you are an investor, you need to make sure when you're doing your analysis for your return on your investment, you're actually also calculating the true rental comps, not going above and beyond, even though you can get more than that. So it's just something to keep in factor. Now, if you're going to be renting out your property for more than the current rents, that's fine. But keep in mind, you need to make sure you're renting it to cover the additional taxes that you will be paying. Now, consumer confidence, this is actually a good one. For me, it always feels like, when the market slows down, nobody wants to buy. And I totally understand because there's no confidence, right? When people feel secure financially, they're most likely going to buy. Right now, that's not happening. But this is what I just don't understand. When the market is down, that's when you buy. When the market is going up and you got too many buyers overbidding, you don't buy, you hold. But again, everything is all psychologically, and that's what I'm seeing today. Now, keep in mind, I'm not telling you to buy. It's just, if it makes financial sense for you, then go ahead and buy. In uncertain times, election years and recession fears, buyer hesitation. Now, this happens all the time. Okay. During the election, people don't know what's going on. They want to wait until we have a new administration in. They want to see what the policies are. Then people start to take action and buy. And you guys can see what's going on in today's economy right now, especially with job security. Okay. It's really impacting our housing market. It's really slowing everything down. Population growth and migration. So inbound migration, like people moving to Las Vegas, right, boosts our local demand. Now, keep in mind, we're having roughly about 96,000 people moving to Las Vegas every single year. 37% of those buyers are from California. Why? Because of the incentives by moving out here. You don't pay the state income tax. So that's one of our driving forces, right? And also, if you have a business, there's a lot of tax incentives with certain cities, like especially like the city of North Las Vegas. If you come out here, you move your business out here, the incentives are crazy. Now, if you guys want to know what those incentives are, reach on out to us and we'll be able to help you out on that. The outbound migration decreases buyers' interest and pricing strength. Now, we don't have too much people moving out of Las Vegas. We're having a lot more people moving here versus people moving out. So it's really not a big deal, but this is something that you have to take a look at, because what happens is when a metropolitan like Las Vegas, right, grows, it's going to grow to the point where it gets overpopulated and it no longer makes sense to live here. And you start to see that throughout the United States. Like a lot of retirees, they're moving through along the Sun Belt, and that's where you're going to get, your higher value properties. But eventually what happens is when a city grows to the point where they're spending too much money and they start taxing their own citizens, what happens is people start to realize, I can no longer live here. We need to move. So just like if we take a look at California, it doesn't make sense anymore to live in California. So for a prime example, if you're making over $1 million a year in California, just with the state income tax alone, you're paying roughly about anywhere from 10 to 12%, let's just say. Well, we'll keep it simple, 10%. That's $120,000 that you're paying just only on state income tax. Now, that's $10,000 a month. Now, when you start looking around, like the city of Las Vegas, you know one of the incentives are, we don't have state income tax. So if you move your business, you move your company over here to Las Vegas, you're saving additional $10,000 a month. Now, at $10,000 a month, that tells you that you could probably buy a $1.3 million home. So basically, you got two options. Give that money to your state and your city, or you can move to Las Vegas and pretty much get a free home. So it makes more sense to do that because now you're saving money. So that's just an example, right? New construction. Now, when you start to see a surge of new home builds and the supply actually increases, this actually pushes the price of existing homes. And believe it or not, I'm seeing this a lot lately. So when I'm taking on listings, right, we definitely have to price these homes correctly, because what's happening now is the new homes around that surrounding areas, as they build more and more, new homes are giving out some crazy incentives. Now you have to understand this, as a buyer, buyers are really not focusing on the price. What they are really focused on is what they're willing to pay every single month. So you may have a resale home that's at $450,000, but you're paying a 6% interest rate, but you're not comfortable with that monthly payment. But then now you look at a brand new home that just got built, and that's at $575,000, but the incentives that they're giving you allows you to buy down that interest rate down to about a 4.5%. And now that new home that costs more money, your monthly payment will be cheaper than that resale home. So a lot of sellers are being hurt. So the only way to compensate that, if you are somebody that's planning on selling in today's market, you just need to make sure that you run the numbers based upon today's interest rate for a buyer, and you have to take a look at the new homes around your surrounding areas, see what they are offering, and figure out what that monthly payment is going to be, so that way you can actually price your home correctly. Unfortunately, today you're going to have to price it aggressively. Now, if you are a buyer, this is where you can actually take advantage of the situation. Builders' incentives can also shift the buyer's preference, and that's what I'm talking about, okay? So right now, I have a buyer, okay? We were able to negotiate $60,000 on an $800,000 home. He's getting the home that he wants. He's comfortable for the payment. We're not even looking at resale homes at this time. So investor activity, right? Institution investors and short-term investors like flippers can drive pricing up. Now, I've actually seen this. There are some investors that are going out and buying a whole community. I'm talking about they're buying like 100-something homes at one time, and they're forcing the appreciation. And how do they do this? They buy it, they rent it out, they hold it. They'll take 4 or 5 of the homes in the neighborhood and have it overpriced. Now, once somebody buys it, now they just set the comps for that neighborhood. I can't believe that this is allowed, but I'm starting to see this. Now, when investors actually pull back, pricing may correct or flatten. Now, in today's market, this is what I'm actually seeing. I have a lot of friends that are flipping homes. The margins are no longer there. It's not working because the market has really softened. So a lot of investors are really picking and choosing the type of investment flips that they want to do. So a lot of my friends that do flips, some of them are moving into the luxury market, and the luxury market out here is moving quickly. So you have to check your market, right? Especially if you are a flipper. The other thing is that on the lower end, flippers are only finding unique properties. Now, also another thing is that if you are a flipper, you must have a product within your local market that has a type of design that no other flipper has. Because what do buyers actually want? They want move-in ready properties today in today's market, and they also want something that's unique, especially at the price point that they are buying. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, global events, really affect the housing market. This is something that you really need to be focusing on because, as an example, like during the pandemic or if we actually have wars, we run into some problems with the supply chain. So right now we're having problems with the tariffs. Now, when we were building one of our investment properties, a lot of our products and materials that we ordered were from China, but just to get it here would actually cost us more money because of the tariffs, right? But also you have to understand when it comes to building a home, there's a lot of materials involved, right? You've got lumber, you've got copper, you've got like metal products, you know, you've also got like the appliances and all that stuff. All that stuff wasn't manufactured here, so we have to bring it in. So now we're paying more for the cost. So the builders have to pay for this, and what the builders will do is pass it all to the consumer. But it also comes down to the point where you can only charge so much because wages may not be able to keep up with that, and that's where we run into inflation. That's why we always take a look at real estate at a macro level and also a micro level to determine what's going on within the housing market. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I have for today. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are about the things that I just talked about that may affect the housing market. If I'm missing something, just let me know. Now, if you guys are actually interested in purchasing a home, go ahead and scan that QR code. We also have over 1,000 video home tours, so go ahead and click that so that way you can watch all the videos. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, click that subscribe button. Other than that, I'm Chakits. Peace.